Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's Master of Ceremonies, Michael Kinney, President of Pro-Life Partners Foundation.
I had to wait for those drums. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for attending the second annual National Celebrate Life Gala. A special thanks to our host committee, who's done a fabulous job. Feel free to give them an applause if you'd like. And to all of our sponsors, who we will recognize later in the program, please join me in welcoming Reverend Daniel Galshut to begin our evening with prayer.
Good evening. As we gather to celebrate life, we focus our attention on the Lord who creates and gives life. From God's Word in John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. In a world that all too often seeks the darkness of death, we celebrate the light of life that comes from God our Father and from Jesus, who died on the cross for our sin and rose again to give us new life. Knowing this, we can celebrate. We can celebrate life in the midst of the darkness of this world, because life will win out in the end because of Jesus. So rejoice, celebrate, and let us give thanks to God. We pray. O Lord of life, we thank you for the gift of your creation and the amazing gift of life, for giving life to each of us. Thank you for redeeming us once again when we rejected your good gifts. Lord, you are the one to whom we go. You have the words of eternal life. Bless us by that word. Equip and embolden us to speak your word of life. Strengthen us to speak into the darkness of the world, that others may receive the gift of life through Jesus. Thank you for sustaining us day to day. Thank you for this food you have provided and the fellowship of this evening. Bless us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Chief Communications Officer at Patriot Mobile and Executive Director of Patriot Mobile Action, Lee Wamsgans.
I have gotten to know this lady. I'm so honored to be able to introduce her. Her name is Elizabeth Abramo, and she is the eldest of 6 children. She's from Fort Mill, South Carolina. She's a recent graduate from Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, and she has a BA in music and a minor in education. Her love for singing and talent has enabled her to perform at prestigious venues like Carnegie Hall, several other high-level events. She also performed in Italy with the Benedictine College Chamber Singers, and that was in Santa Cecile at Trastevere, the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls, and the Basilica of the 12 Holy Apostles. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join me in welcoming Elizabeth Abramo to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars, through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that stirring performance. The national anthem reminds us that we are united by timeless truths, one nation under God. Last year, we recommended and commemorated heroes who have gone before us. This year, we honor everyday heroes, people who play a pivotal role day in and day out. Please begin your meal as we introduce these everyday heroes.
Throughout the arc of history, there is a singular narrative that is so prevalent, it is commonly referred to as the monomyth. Many call it the hero's journey. The hero's journey starts with a calling, struggle, decisive victory over a crisis, and finally, the hero and those around him are transformed. What is most important about the hero's journey is that the hero is always a normal, everyday person that finds themselves in a situation that requires extraordinary bravery. While the hero's journey is simply a literary device, in the pro-life movement, these true heroes really do exist. They are everyday people who recognize that vulnerable human beings were under attack and answered the call for help. And they have transformed the world. These are everyday heroes like Maeve Kitchens, who at just 16 years old saw the need for a pregnancy resource center in her small town in California. Serving as a Students for Life of America high school fellow, she fundraised and collected nearly $400,000, which was enough to purchase a building to open a new center where mothers can get the help they need to choose life for their baby and themselves. Suzanne and Rachel Guy. Suzanne was told to abort her daughter Rachel due to a disability, and Suzanne chose life. This life choice spurred this mother-daughter duo to found the Marietta, Georgia 40 Days for Life campaign with focus and faith. Their contagious compassion and hope is evident to the team they lead and to those clients and Planned Parenthood workers they're reaching. As beacons of Christ's love, Jerry and Stephanie Kapp connect women and men outside one of the busiest abortion facilities in America with life-saving pregnancy help. Jerry serves on the sidewalk as a local program leader for Sidewalk Advocates for Life, working hand in hand with his wife Stephanie, who serves as a nurse in the nearby mobile clinic. Together, they are anchors of real hope for their community in Granite City, Illinois. By coaching hundreds of abortion facility quitters who have reached out to And Then There Were None for help, Jim Molinelli has been able to adapt any job experience to marketable skills, boldly empowering abortion workers to leave their jobs and transition to life-affirming employment. And let's not forget, our mission to end abortion would not be possible without those who serve women and families in crisis in cities across America every day. Bella Health and Wellness, Emmaus Health Partners, JP2 Life Center, and St. Gianna Clinic serve as exceptional examples of the thousands of pregnancy help organizations led and staffed by everyday heroes who walk beside the mothers struggling to make a choice for life, and then care for her changing needs throughout pregnancy as well as the child saved, well into his or her first years. While these everyday heroes are not seen on a national stage, they are courageously answering a call, leading the charge for our pro-life movement, and transforming our nation by the lives they are saving. Now, more than ever, we need you to be an everyday hero.
Transforming our nation, that's what we're about. What a moving video, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's co-hosts will honor those mentioned in the video. I have the privilege of beginning. On behalf of Pro-Life Partners Foundation, I am pleased to recognize an entire profession, pro-life healthcare. In particular, 4 leading medical centers. These centers care for the whole person, mind, body, and soul. They revere the image of God in every patient. They represent medicine's highest calling. Please raise your glass to honor these stalwarts of authentic healthcare. Thank you for building a culture of life every day. May your dedication and integrity transform healthcare for the good, the true, and for life. Now I would like to invite each of these 4 groups up individually, beginning with Bella Health and Wellness, Denver, Colorado. Emmaus Health Partners, Ann Arbor, Michigan. St. Gianna Clinic, Green Bay, Wisconsin. And the John Paul II Life Center, Austin, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my fellow co-host and next award presenter. She is the founder and director of And Then There Were None and Pro-Love Ministries. She is a wife, a mother, a movie star, and a PhD. Please welcome Abby Johnson.
Thank you, Michael. So when I was getting ready to come up here, I asked my staff. I said, "Do y'all have like any remarks ready for me to give out this award?" And they were like, "No, we have nothing for you." And that is the epitome of how things work around our ministry. So everybody else has multiple pages of things they're going to read about their award recipient, and I have nothing. And so it's fine. That is exactly why we needed Jim Molinelli on our team. So when I started And Then There Were None, I put out a call for volunteers, and one of the specific things I asked for was that we needed a resume writer. We needed someone to help us craft resumes for workers that were coming to us, abortion workers who were coming to us and wanting to leave their jobs. Because what we found was that they didn't have a resume. They were going into the abortion clinics. They were, they weren't really qualified to do the jobs that they were doing in the abortion industry. The abortion industry was recruiting them from these low-income neighborhoods and paying them all this money, and so they really needed help crafting a resume. And I put out a call for a resume writer, and one person emailed me back, because really, who wants to write a resume? And it was Jim Molinelli. And that was in 2012, right when we started, and then there were none. And that brave man has been the only man who has been with us since the very beginning. And he comes to marches with us. And when I was pregnant, God bless him, he kept me stocked with Coke, because that was the only thing I could drink that I wouldn't come back up. And he makes sure we have all the snacks we need, and he carries our heavy boxes, and he has made sure that every abortion clinic worker that comes to us that needs a job, that needs a resume, has one. And bless him, he has made beautiful resumes. He has crafted beautiful resumes off of job descriptions that have come to him off of paper napkins. And he has helped more former abortion clinic workers who have been redeemed get jobs more than anyone else on this planet. And we love him and we thank him. And we're so thankful that he is the one man in our tribe that puts up with all of these women. And so thank you to Jim Molinelli.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Steve Carlin, Campaign Director for 40 Days for Life.
When Suzanne and Peter Guy got married more than 30 years ago, they hoped for a big family. But when years passed and no babies followed, they were forced to accept a hard truth, namely that when we as pro-lifers talk about being open to life, sometimes that means being open to the possibility that God has other plans. As hard as that was, Suzanne responded with complete submission to God's will, praying, "Jesus, you are enough. If we never have a child, you are our satisfaction." And eventually, Suzanne did get pregnant. She told everybody. And some of her well-meaning friends said, "You might want to keep it down. After all those years of disappointment, you might want to keep a lid on that news in case something goes wrong." Suzanne said, "Are you kidding me? This is big news. We're going to shout it from the roofs." Eventually, things did go wrong. Suzanne's doctor delivered the devastating news that her baby, her unborn baby Rachel, was incompatible with life. And 3 separate doctors urged her to do the unthinkable, to abort the very baby she had spent years praying for. 1 doctor, 2 doctors, 3 doctors told her that if she didn't have the abortion, she herself would die. When Suzanne asked, "Is there anything else you can do for us? Maybe some other test you haven't thought of?" 1 doctor responded, "If you don't get this abortion, the only test I'm going to give you is an autopsy." It was a difficult moment. Now, Suzanne and Peter, they never contemplated abortion, but there was a temptation to despair, and the tide began to turn when Suzanne called her mom. And her mom said, "Suzanne, is there still a heartbeat?" Suzanne said, "Yeah, Mom, there's still a heartbeat." And Suzanne's mother replied, "Well, if there's a heartbeat, there is hope. We pray." And that moment was a turning point, because from that point on, Suzanne and Peter found a doctor who was willing to accompany them on their life decision journey. And when Rachel entered the world, even though it was more than 3 months prematurely, she stunned those doctors who said she would be too weak to even utter a sound, might even be born stillborn. She shocked them by letting out a loud cry, showing the world that she wasn't going down without a fight. She has continued to fight. As a teenager, she wrote letters to all 3 of those doctors asking, "Why didn't you fight for my life?" And she and her mother, Suzanne, continue to fight for life. They serve as the 40 Days for Life leaders in Marietta, Georgia. They were the first ever 40 Days for Life 365 year-round prayer campaign leaders. They volunteer in their local pregnancy help center. They have rallied countless volunteers. They have started their own pro-life organization, and they have saved dozens of lives that we know about, including at least 15 confirmed saved babies in 2024 alone. And Suzanne and Rachel Guy are proof positive that here in post-Roe America, it doesn't matter whether you live in Georgia or in California or anywhere in between, we can end abortion, and we are ending abortion. So please raise your glasses and welcome Suzanne and Rachel Guy.
Welcome to the stage, founder, president, and CEO of Sidewalk Advocates for Life, Lauren Muzica.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is a delight to be here celebrating life with all of you. Again, I'm Lauren Muzica, the founder, president, CEO of Sidewalk Advocates for Life, the nation's largest sidewalk outreach organization, and it is my great honor to introduce to you our Everyday Hero honorees. But first, a fun story. This is a true story. A couple weeks ago, I was going through the security line at Dallas Love Field Airport, and a TSA agent looked at my organizational t-shirt. And he's kind of squinting, and he goes, "What is Sidewalk Avocados for Life?" And I just in that moment so wanted to be like, "We help avocados facing unexpected pregnancies." But I didn't. I turned off the smart aleck valve. And instead I said, advocates? And then he kind of realized he had reversed some D's and V's in there, right? And I said, we help women facing crisis pregnancies. And he goes, oh. And then his fellow TSA agent looks at him. She starts to razz him. And she goes, yeah, how do you feel now? And I felt bad for him. So I stepped in and I said, that's okay. I like avocados too. We can help moms and save the avocados. So speaking of exemplary sidewalk avocados, sidewalk advocates, people ask me all the time, Lauren, how can you talk about abortion all day, every day? And I tell them I get to live the resurrection every single day. Because yes, glory to God for that. Because I see what happens when you put God's people in front of an abortion facility, the darkest places in our communities, and offer loving, life-affirming alternatives to those going in. And even more than that, I always tell people that I get to serve saints every single day. Thank you to those of you who go to abortion facilities. And it was so, let's give God a hand on that, right? And in so many ways, it was so hard to pick these honorees because they're all awesome, right? And then in another way, it wasn't hard at all. So I want to introduce to you Jerry and Stephanie Kapp. A beacon of gentleness, love, and true hope, Jerry Kapp serves as the leader for the Sidewalk Advocates for Life team in Granite City, Illinois, one of the top abortion destinations in the entire country. His wife, Stephanie, serves alongside him, or perhaps I should say down the street from him, as a diagnostic medical sonographer for a mobile pregnancy care unit that is ready to receive and further counsel the women Jerry and his fellow sidewalk advocates bring them. Married for 49 years, Jerry and Stephanie have served women and saved lives in the pro-life movement for 6 years, and it hasn't always been easy, as you might imagine. Immediately after the Dobbs decision, the couple observed an overwhelming increase in traffic to their local abortion facility from neighboring states, and there's also been an increase in abortion center escorts at that site, harassing them on the daily. We know all too well the challenges of serving in this movement, and thanks be to God, we also know how God cares for us when we say yes to Him. Jerry and Stephanie are exemplars of this faith and God's consistent, persistent love. In fact, Jerry loves to say when he reflects on his ministry that love is the driving force. As disciples of the Lord, every soul matters to them, and they bring to their work tremendous compassion for those that they serve, as well as for those who work within the abortion industry, hopefully winning them out one soul at a time. Countless lives have been impacted, countless lives have been saved. In fact, my favorite story that they tell is about two women that drove all the way through the night from Mississippi and met them on the sidewalk in Granite City, Illinois, and they helped them to choose life. Amazing. So I invite you all to raise a glass with me to toast the selfless service of Jerry and Stephanie Capp, who were such beautiful reminders to us of the words of St. Francis of Assisi. All the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. To Jerry and Stephanie, our everyday heroes, let's welcome them to the stage.
Now please welcome Kristen Hawkins, President of Students for Life and Students for Life Action.
In this post-Roe era, we know we face a marathon and not a sprint. And there are days where there are losses. And those losses aren't mere notches on our political belt or our scorecard. The losses are the lives we didn't save, those whom we weren't able to reach in time. But then I think about this fact. They often say that leadership is measured by those you raise up and will replace you. And then my joy in this battle is restored. One of our goals at Students for Life is to create the lifelong leaders, helping young people grow in their pro-life leadership and find their calling in our movement. Because I believe they are the ones who will see abortion made a thing of the past. Most of the students that are here in the room with us tonight are part of that journey we have at Students for Life called our National Leaders Collective. And I hope you all get the chance to meet them, to shake their hands before you leave. Because in this audience are the future founders, the senators, the full-time grassroots activists. And I think about 20 of them have all told me they want my job, so the future me. Such is the everyday hero I want to introduce you tonight, Maeve Kitchens. 2 years ago, our everyday hero was with us at the Supreme Court as part of our Roe Day, or what we call our SCOTUS Squad program. She was there with us as Roe and Doe were thrown onto the ash heap of history. On that day, she was so inspired by the momentum of the Dobbs decision, from the tools and the resources that she got at the National Leaders Collective, that she went back to her rural Northern California community, determined to make a difference for those facing an unexpected pregnancy. What started as a search to volunteer at a pregnancy center then deadened when the nearest ones Maeve found were over 100 miles away. It became a crusade to start a pregnancy resource center in her hometown. In less than 1 year, with the help and the leadership of those in her community, Maeve Kitchens has established a 501c3 nonprofit organization, has appointed a board of directors, and has created an advisory committee. At their first fundraising event, Maeve and her team raised more than $280,000 in a single night. She ultimately collected nearly $400,000, which has been enough to purchase the building to start a pregnancy resource center with zero debt. At 16 years old, Maeve was able to inspire her community to come together, to build a pregnancy resource center that will serve thousands of mothers, fathers, and families. So please, raise your glass, and if you are a student leader, a non-alcoholic glass, and help me say cheers and celebrate our everyday hero, Maeve Kitchens. You thought you were rid of me. I'm still here. Sorry. Tonight, I have the honor to introduce our keynote speaker. He is likely best known to you as the host of the Matt Walsh Show at the Daily Wire, or through his documentary, What is a Woman? I have a lot of answers to share of what is a woman. To me, though, Matt is an encouragement to never mince words or apologize for defending life in the public square. Ephesians 5:13 says, "But when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible." Matt has worked hard to expose the darkest corners of our culture, including the predatory abortion industry. And I hope tonight you leave encouraged by him to also join us in shining your light to help us abolish abortion. Please welcome Matt Walsh.
Thank you. Thank you. Please don't stand before I even speak. Sets the bar way too high. And then if you don't stand after I speak, then I think I'll let you down. So that's the problem. You know, I appreciate that introduction. She told me when we're sitting at the table that it was a decision between the snarky intro or the sincere intro. And I said, do the snarky one, but I got the sincere one, so I appreciate that. What's that? Okay. You want to share it right now? That's all right. I won't put you on the spot. Thank you all for being here. I'm very happy to be part of this wonderful event where we are rallying together for an important cause. It's the most important cause. It's the cause that lays the foundation for everything else. The thing that, if we don't preserve it, we lose everything. It's the most fundamental and basic and essential thing of all, which is life. And what is it that most undermines, destroys, and threatens life in this country? Well, all of us in this room know that it's abortion. Abortion is still, for my money, and I think for everybody in this room, the defining issue of our time. It is still the wall that separates one side of the political divide from the other. And it is a wall that is built with the bodies of 60 million dead babies. Over 60 million babies have been killed through abortion, well over 60 million at this point. And the death toll is staggering. It's greater than anything the world has ever seen by order of magnitude. These victims, these children, have been killed legally by human hands in a little building in your local shopping mall that you drive by on your way to work or to Applebee's or to run errands. They've been killed at the behest of their own parents, with the help of so-called doctors, facilitated and funded by the government, and in response to the silent screams of these human sacrifices, all there has been from so many in our culture is a giant yawn, or even, in some corners, applause. Now, so many people in our country go about their days stepping over the bodies like debris, our shoes soaked in the blood of our own children. Let's reflect on that for a moment. Children, the most innocent, the most pure, the most beautiful of all people, are the precise ones that we have targeted. They've harmed no one. They're filled with joy and potential and love. If we cannot see the value and worth of a child, then who can we see it in? I remain forever shocked and confounded by the sorts of people who could look at an unborn child and see only a clump of cells. Now, we're all clumps of cells, and if you go to Walmart sometime, you'll see many people who are far clumpier than your average infant. But I love Walmart, so I'm a Walmart shopper myself. I heard my wife, she said, those are his people. They are my people at Walmart. I'm there like 5 times a week. Anyway, but can you really not see the miracle in this life? Can you really not see the beauty? Can you really not see the tragedy in destroying it? And it's a tragedy compounded threefold, because with abortion, we not only reject our children, but we reject ourselves. We have to remember the miraculous thing about conception, the moment when a new life comes into being. What is so mystical and beautiful about it is that when you think about it, there isn't just one life being created, but 3. There is the child, a precious, vulnerable life, plucked out of eternity and sent here by God. Then there's the woman who goes from being just a woman to being a mother. She herself is created in this moment. It is a moment of becoming. She becomes something. She is born alongside her child. The same is true for the man. He goes from being just a man to being a father. As a father of 6 myself, I can attest to the transformative nature of parenthood. I look back at myself before I had kids. I don't recognize that person. I also didn't have a beard back then, so I really don't recognize him. It was me, but it was me before I became what I was meant to be. It was me before I knew why I was here. But the reality is that while 3 lives are created at conception, only 1 is killed through abortion. The child is gone forever from this earth, never to be seen again in this life. The mother and father are still who they became. Despite the lie that they are sold by the abortion industry, they don't go back to being just a woman and a man. The clock cannot be reversed. They're told by the abortion industry, oh, it's not your time. You could do this later. Well, no, it is your time. It's already happened. Your time is now. Whether you feel ready for it or not, it is now. So you cannot go back to being just a woman and a man. You are still a mother, still a father, but now you are the parents of a dead child. The child's loss is their loss, whether they choose to confront it now or not. Eventually they will, and they will feel it, and they will mourn. There's no way to get around the fundamental fact that the pro-abortion movement wishes to deny that the humanity of the unborn, the personhood of the unborn, is just a fact. The pro-abortion advocate will try to say that the child's not a person because he's still developing, because he's dependent on his mother for survival. This, he will say, means that the baby lacks moral standing. But this view that personhood is acquired by degree and that it is forfeit if you are entirely dependent on someone else for survival clearly implicates more than just the unborn. It seems that the sick, the infirm, the disabled, the elderly all get caught up in this net. By this line of reasoning, all of these people have, at a minimum, less claim to personhood than I do. If personhood is on a spectrum, if it is contingent, then by this logic we have depersoned many categories of people, which is a feature, not a bug, of the pro-abortion movement. They intend to whittle away at both ends of life, the young and the old, unpersoning one subset after another, until the right to life has been extinguished for all but the privileged few. The only other option, aside from personhood being attained by degree, is that personhood and its attending moral rights and dignities is inherent to all living human beings. If something is inherent, that means that it belongs to the essential nature of that thing. The idea that our human dignity, our personhood, is inherent, that it belongs to our essential nature, cannot be lost or diminished under any circumstances. That's an idea that lies at the foundation of our country, at the foundation of any notion of human rights. It's an idea that everyone in this country pretends to believe under most circumstances. If an unborn baby does not have inherent value, then human value itself is not permanent or essential, and thus, if it does not have inherent value, then neither do you. You cannot gain inherent value. You either have it from the first moment of your existence, or you do not have it at all. Which is why sometimes I think that we get lost in the weeds with this argument about, well, does life begin at conception? The answer is yes, it does. But also, existence begins at conception. There's no question about that, is there? Whatever you want to call the child at the moment of conception, it at least exists, doesn't it? And if you say that life does not begin at conception, then what you are saying is that there was a moment of your own existence when you were not a person, and that doesn't make any sense. How could there be a moment of your own existence when you were not you? And the personhood argument for abortion is actually even worse than it sounds at first. It's so bad that even if it were true, it would do almost nothing to prove the pro-abortion case. This is how wrong these people are, that even if they were right, they would still be wrong. Because the personhood argument for abortion is a syllogism with a missing premise. It seems to go like this. Premise one, an unborn baby is not a person. He is merely a potential person. Conclusion, therefore we can kill him. Now wait a second. Two does not flow logically from one. You're missing something here. You skipped over a step. Just because someone isn't a person doesn't necessarily mean that you can kill them. That's a whole separate case you need to make that you haven't made. There's a whole other premise you have to establish. You haven't even tried to do it. So even if I conceded this point, even if I let you make the first massive logical leap and I said, okay, it's not a person, it's a potential person, you still have another even bigger leap to make. Because now you need to prove that it is okay to destroy this potential person. I don't see how you make that case, because if I agree it's a potential person, for the sake of argument, it would seem to me that this potential human ought to be treated like the most valuable non-person thing on the planet. It would seem to be the second best thing next to being a person. And I don't think it is necessarily okay to kill the second best thing. I mean, wouldn't the potential person still be more valuable than, say, a sea turtle egg? Sea turtle eggs are protected by the federal law. There's no question that sea turtles aren't people. Now, to be clear again, I don't even for a moment buy the idea that an unborn person is just a potential person. I reject it outright on scientific, logical, and moral grounds. I'm just trying to establish that the argument doesn't work even on its own premise. Consider it this way, and I've used this analogy before, and it's a little bit of a crude analogy. It doesn't work entirely, but I think it illustrates the point a little bit. What if you had a winning lottery ticket? What if you won $50 million in the lottery? And you had your lottery ticket, and you were skipping down to the lottery office, waving it in the air. Not a good idea. You're saying, look, everyone, I just won $50 million. Check it out. Now, imagine that I run up, and I snatch that ticket from you, and I burn it right in front of you. Now, that ticket was not $50 million. It's just a ticket. It was just a receipt. That's all it was. It was just the potential of $50 million. It was moments away from being converted into $50 million. But at the moment that I destroyed it, it was just a piece of paper. But would you react as though you just lost a piece of paper? Or would you react as though you just lost $50 million? Would you accept my argument if I said, hey man, calm down. It was just potentially $50 million. Of course you wouldn't. See, whether the ticket is $50 million or merely the potentiality of $50 million is basically irrelevant. It is semantics. And certainly you would say that the potentiality of $50 million has a worth greater than zero. In fact, it probably has a worth of $50 million. As it happens, the child in this analogy is already, from the moment of conception, $50 million. More, he is a thing of infinite value, not just infinite potential value. But what I'm trying to say is I don't see the difference, really, between infinite potential value and infinite value. So if I agree with how they frame the argument that this child is just a potential child, I would still see it as an act of unspeakable wickedness to murder the potential child. And that's what abortion is in the end. This is the truth that cannot be escaped. It is the intentional destruction of innocent human life. And intentionally destroying innocent human life is always wrong, period, in every case, no matter what. If it is not always wrong to intentionally destroy innocent human life, then nothing is wrong. Then the very word wrong has no meaning. That's our case as pro-lifers. It is always wrong to intentionally kill innocent human life. That's our case. That's the whole argument. That's it. It's very simple. But there's a lot of power in its simplicity. You know, it's the other side that has to get very complicated, has to get into the weeds, the semantics, has to bring up the hard cases, has to bring up this and that and obfuscate. That's all they ever do. Because they cannot take this issue head on. They can't just talk about what this thing is. That's why it's such a tragedy that in recent months, a large contingent of people who are supposed to be on our side have abandoned this simple truth. Indeed, it's one of the most shameful and twisted ironies that I've ever seen that pro-lifers won the greatest human rights victory of all time with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But rather than our side being emboldened by our historic achievement, rather than celebrating, rather than acting confident and triumphant, rather than throwing parades to celebrate this amazing thing that has happened, instead, many conservatives, quote unquote, have over the past many months and last couple of years become very shy about this issue. They've even blamed us, pro-lifers, for some of the electoral defeats in recent elections. They claim there will be more defeats in the future, and when they happen, it'll be our fault. Now, the first question I have for any conservative who claims that we can only win by being moderate on abortion, the first question I have is this: what the hell do you know about winning? What wins do you have under your belt? What battles have you fought and won? What battles have you fought at all? Because as long as I've been alive and involved in any of these issues, there's always been that voice, that very loud voice among people that pretend to be allies of ours. All they ever do is say, well, that's a little too far. Don't say that. No, let's not fight over that. Let's not die on this hill. They never find a hill worth dying on. And one day you look around and you look, well, there's no hills left. So I go back to this question: why the hell would anyone come to you for insight on this issue or any other if you're in this camp? You want to talk to me about winning? Then show me your wins, or shut up. Now, I can show you our wins. We have them as pro-lifers. What about you? And these are all very good questions, but we never get an answer. Instead, we're assured that conservatives are losing because of the abortion issue. The issue is unwinnable. Pro-lifers will screw everything up. We have to come out and endorse legalized abortion in order to win. I've even heard, as I think many people in this room have, alleged conservatives recently declare that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. I've heard this from conservatives. Literally repeating pro-abortion talking points from the 1990s. Now, just to be clear, if you are a supposed conservative now saying that we should embrace legalized abortion in any form, then you are, make no mistake, advocating for a full-scale surrender. You're free to take that position if you want, but please, for the love of God, don't pretend that you're a fighter if you do. You're waving the white flag. You're doing the thing that the other side never does, and ours too often does. You are snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. You are apologizing for winning. But before you hoist that flag, let me offer a few thoughts. First of all, you can blame pro-lifers for the recent string of electoral defeats, or, especially given that this string began before Dobbs, you could consider the possibility that the right, by and large, has been running bad candidates and bad campaigns. It's amazing when I see this clown car parade that they trot out around election time, and these clowns lose, and then they turn to us and say, why'd you do that to us? This is especially worth considering given that many of the losers over the past few years have not even been pro-life hardliners or pro-life at all. Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, for one example. Liberal on the issue. Second, the claim that conservatives should moderate on abortion is not some brilliant new insight, okay? It's not any kind of bold political innovation. All these people that say this now, acting like, you know what, I just thought of something. I think we should be more moderate. Oh, wow. How did you come out? That was a real light bulb moment. This is what the establishment has been saying for my entire life. Since I was born and before, the establishment has insisted that the only way to win is to go soft on abortion, compromise, hide from the issue, undersell it. This has been conventional milquetoast Republican thinking forever. Does it appear to have been effective? Does it have a track record of success? Ask yourself that. These people have been losing and scapegoating social conservatives forever. They've been blaming us for their failures since always. This is nothing new. Why would we buy into it now? The truth is that so-called social conservatives are the only ones on the right side of the political spectrum who've been doing any winning of any kind. Not only are we not to blame for Republican losses, but we are the only ones who can claim any wins at all. See, social conservatives know how to fight the culture war. In fact, we are the only ones who do. We're the reason Roe was overturned. We're the reason that bills protecting the unborn have been passed in many states. It's not just abortion. We're the reason that it's now illegal to castrate and mutilate children in the name of gender transitions in many states. We are the reason why trans activists are losing ground by the day. We're the reason why many major corporations have been suspiciously a little shy about Pride Month this year. And a big reason for that is that we're the ones who took Bud Light's scalp and nailed it to the wall and said, this is what happens. And so we are the ones who are telling you, don't compromise. And we're not just saying it because we think it's the best way to win, we're saying it because we know it is. Third, this is most important. Before you tell me that the pro-life message is a political loser, answer me this. How many candidates, and I'm not saying that none did, how many candidates on a national level fought back hard and effectively on this issue? Actively went after the pro-aborts, ran ads attacking their opponents for supporting the dismemberment of infants, which every Democrat does, by the way. Actually countered the left's pro-abortion narrative with a strong affirmative pro-life narrative. This is the problem. The pro-life message is being blamed in races where the pro-life message was never even articulated. You cannot blame pro-lifers for losing when you never even put up a fight. So it doesn't mean we can't win, but it does mean you won't win if you don't try. If I can be forgiven for borrowing from G.K. Chesterton and paraphrasing, the pro-life position has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried. So we go on offense, we flip the script, we flip the conversation, we focus it on the horrors and barbarity of abortion and the abortion industry. This has not been done on the political level that much. It has not really been attempted. Most of the losing candidates have not done this. They've hidden from the issue instead of going on the offense. Instead of being, they're embarrassed. How can you be embarrassed when you are the one saying, don't kill babies? Are you embarrassed that you don't want to kill babies? Democrats want to spend the entire time talking about the hard cases, rape, incest, life of the mother, cases that account for fewer than 1% of all abortions. Republicans allow themselves to get baited into focusing the conversation there, where Democrats want to focus it. Basic note of strategy. If you have an enemy, you figure out the ground where they want to fight you, and you do not fight them there. If they are inviting you to the battlefield and saying, hey, come over here, it's nice, look, it's nice, come over this way. Obviously, you fight them anywhere except that exact spot where they're asking you to. And so rarely has the other side responded, rarely have the Republicans responded and said, look, We're not going to talk about the 1% of cases until you answer some questions about the 99% of cases. You say, here's what abortion is. Here's why 99% of abortions are performed. Here's what happens in a third trimester abortion, which happens thousands of times a year, by the way. You need to answer for this before we talk about anything else. Very few Republicans have had the guts or wherewithal to respond that way, and so they lose. Here's where I stand, and I believe that everybody in this room stands with me on this. I would not compromise on abortion, even if it really did mean losing every election from now until kingdom come. And that's because to accept child murder is to forfeit your soul. And if we are really a country where child murder is so popular, where acceptance of child murder is so fundamental to our way of life, that it's impossible to win if you oppose it, then we are not a country worth saving. If that were the case, then we deserve whatever destruction is coming our way. God will strike us down for our sins. And I couldn't stand in the way of that if I wanted to, and I don't want to. I will never accept abortion. I will never compromise on it. I will never give up any ground. I will not give an inch, not an inch. All abortion is wrong, always. It is never okay to kill an innocent and defenseless human being. It is always our obligation as human beings, as parents, as Americans, to protect the innocent, especially our children. And if we cannot do that, if we won't do that, then we are worthless. There are no exceptions to this. None, period. I would rather die than compromise on this issue. But the good news is that the whole premise is flawed. The pro-life message can win in this country, but only if we have the courage to fight for it and the intelligence to fight well. The pro-life message has already won in so many ways on so many battlefields. Everybody in this room can attest to that. Winning is our destiny because truth always prevails in the end. You just have to stand there with it and not leave. We stand in the truth when no one else will. We speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. We say what must be said, and we do what must be done. And if we continue to do that without fear or compromise, eventually the day will come when every child is free to be born and to live. I see that day in the future. But we're not there yet. And so for now, we fight. Thank you.
On principle, I'm opposed to cloning, but I might make one exception. Matt Walsh, a national treasure. You have come from throughout the nation. To those watching online from throughout the world, may Matt's message resonate, reverberate, become part of our everyday work. We have been invited by the Supreme Court to persuade our fellow Americans. Matt has given a wonderful instruction book, very straightforward, principle-based on how to do that. Tomorrow, we gather at America's temple to equal protection, the Lincoln Memorial. Lincoln said, "No law can give the right to do what is wrong. Not the Constitution, not a state, not a vote. Abortion is never necessary, and it's always wrong." The cost of this weekend is high, but the cost of abortion is much higher. Abortion is the leading cause of death in America and the world. The killing must stop. Abortion harms everything. The harm must end. Abortion deceives and detains. The lies must be exposed, and the perpetrators transformed by grace. It's time to heal. We, the collective group that are putting on this event, we ask for your support. Please complete the card at your table. For those who are watching, please consider scanning the QR code. It's on the slide. Please consider making a recurring gift. We're in a new season now. The Supreme Court went halfway. I wished, I had prayed, I worked with my good friend, seasoned attorney Mr. Martin Palmer, put an op-ed in the paper asking them to go all the way the week before. And what is all the way? All the way is responding to the question that was posed to Sarah Weddington during the oral argument in 1972, when she, as the youngest person ever to argue before the U.S. Supreme Court, was asked, if we apply the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause to the preborn child, you have no case. If you listen to the audio at any of your libraries, you will hear this 20-something, approximately 26 years old, literally have, and I hope you take this in the right way, I have 5 daughters and I mean it in the best way, sort of a childish giggle of nervous laughter, where she acknowledges that if the Supreme Court were to do what is absolutely the right thing to do and apply the Equal Protection Clause to the preborn child, the case for abortion, as stated in Roe, collapses. That's the only legal, just outcome, as Matt has so eloquently described. We need to be comfortable talking about that. We need not to be fighting, as Matt so well said, on the abortion industry's ground. They captured the language for a very intentional purpose. We need to speak the truth with clarity and charity. So as you're filling out these cards to the extent that you can, I want to thank our sponsors. Cornerstone Marketing Strategies, a marketing graphic and web design company that specializes in pro-life brands. Thomas More Society, true heroes in the legal profession, a public interest law firm championing life, family, and freedom. Amazing professionals. Vitae Foundation, a research organization whose work has created a paradigm shift in the way we speak about abortion. Pro-Life Partners Foundation, which I'm privileged to be a part of, issued 11 videos based on Vitae Foundation's research, the great research from the Dimitri Institute through Students for Life and others, and those ads are moving across the country. We're asking all pro-life organizations simply put them out. They're responding to the issues, and we've had a beautiful response. It takes Vitae Foundation and others to provide us with the research on how to message. Concerned Women for America, EWTN, who's broadcasting this tonight. HSP Direct, an amazing direct mail company. Human Coalition, I teased their leader, Jeff Bradford, who just published a book, a must-read book coming out, that they have perhaps the best name in the pro-life movement, Human Coalition. Live Action, the great work of Lila Rose and all of her team. Napa Institute. Napa Institute started in California, now has a DC office. A tremendous organization. Patriot Mobile, an illustration of the great answer to any questions that we have in our society is entrepreneurship. It's the human being coming up with creative solutions. And finally, 7 Weeks Coffee. Why 7 weeks? It's great coffee, by the way. The coffee bean is the size of a human being at 7 weeks. It's time to provide equal protection for all. Please join us tomorrow at the Lincoln Memorial from 10:30 until noon. And tonight, please enjoy dessert, drinks, and dancing just to my right and your left. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. God bless you, and God bless America.